Good morning. Welcome to this policy session. So this is the third morning of the Efficient Buildings Digital Days. So my name is Vicky Lucas. I work for the Institute for Environmental Analytics at the University of Reading, and it's my pleasure to be moderating this session, which will run until midday. So this whole event is to further the discussions on sustainable transition and refurbishing public buildings. The Efficient Buildings Digital Days consists of 3 mornings of policy sessions and 6 practical capacity building workshops, one of which is this afternoon, and that's on strategic planning buildings and energy renovation. And then there's another 3 capacity building sessions next week. But this morning is the 3rd policy session. We'll be talking about connecting both sides of the Mediterranean, the north and south. And so for housekeeping, thanks to our interpreters, you can listen in either English or French. And the options for translation is one of the icons at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So please be aware that this session is being recorded, and those recordings will be made available on the Efficient Buildings community website. And during this session, you're welcome to put questions into the Q&A box, which we'll monitor, and then I can include them for our panelists in the roundtable discussion later on. But back to today's agenda. We'll have the welcome by the Efficient Buildings community, then our opening speech to give some context on engagement between the north and south of the Mediterranean, and to round off the introduction, we'll have some thoughts from energy cities and energy partnerships. And then we'll have a discussion round table. So we've got 6 diverse experts discussing the benefits and challenges of the North-South dialogue. And throughout the morning, there'll be a lot on support and how to extend the transference and capitalization activities across the entire Mediterranean basin. And this session will end with the virtual signature of the Meet-Med agreement. So firstly, the welcome from the Efficient Buildings community. Now that's by Agnès Rampal, co-chair of the Euromed Cities Network. Agnès is the Deputy Mayor of the City of Nice and in charge of Euro-Mediterranean affairs. She has a distinguished career in public service. Agnès is a regional councillor and a member of the European Council on Regions. Agnès, welcome.
Merci Vicky. Chers amis, nous sommes réunis aujourd'hui pour l'événement annuel de la communauté de projets Efficient Building dans le cadre du programme européen Interreg-Med. Cet événement devait se tenir à Lisbonne en cohérence avec la présidence actuelle portugaise du Conseil européen, mais malheureusement, le contexte sanitaire nous en a empêchés. Nous avons donc transformé cet événement en un séminaire en ligne sur plusieurs jours avec à la fois des sessions institutionnelles et des ateliers de formation. Je souhaite avant toute chose commencer par remercier le ministre de l'Environnement et de l'Action pour le Climat, João Pedro Matos Fernandes, qui a montré tout l'engagement de son pays sur cette thématique ô combien importante et partagée par nous tous, de l'efficacité énergétique des bâtiments publics. Je souhaite également remercier Monsieur le Président du Conseil d'administration de l'Agence portugaise de l'énergie, ADEN, de nous avoir accueillis lors de sa première session du 7 juin et pour son implication également dans Efficient Building que le réseau des villes Euromed coordonne avec ses partenaires. Comme vous le savez, ce réseau est présidé par le maire Christian Estrosi, maire de la ville de Nice, président de la métropole Nice-Côte d'Azur, tout particulièrement impliqué dans la lutte contre le réchauffement climatique en Méditerranée et pour qui l'efficacité énergétique des bâtiments publics est une impérieuse nécessité. Merci, cher Bernard Massabo, pour votre constante implication dans tous ces projets. Lors de cette première session, la Commission européenne, au travers de sa DG Regio, a souligné l'opportunité que constitue le Green Deal et plus spécifiquement son plan de rénovation énergétique européen. Je remercie pour cela M. Mathieu Fischer, responsable au sein de cette direction, de nous l'avoir si bien illustré. La session d'aujourd'hui élargit nos échanges à l'ensemble du bassin méditerranéen car nous avons cette petite mer en partage et la même problématique d'efficience énergétique s'applique à l'ensemble de nos territoires. Nous avons donc tous à gagner d'échanges fructueux entre nous sur les bonnes pratiques à avoir respectivement. La communauté de projet Efficient Building travaille depuis plusieurs années en relation avec l'Union pour la Méditerranée et sa plateforme spécifique énergie renouvelable et efficacité énergétique. Et je suis donc très honorée de la présence aujourd'hui de M. Gramenos Mastroreni, secrétaire général adjoint senior en charge de l'énergie et de l'action pour le climat, qui souhaite intervenir sur le partage de connaissances et de bonnes pratiques et que j'écouterai avec beaucoup d'intérêt dans quelques instants. Avant de dire quelques mots sur notre session d'aujourd'hui, je veux également féliciter le programme européen Interreg-Med, dont l'autorité de gestion est, vous le savez, notre région sud, Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur, qui, sous l'impulsion de son président Renaud Muselier, s'investit très concrètement dans les programmes européens et méditerranéens. Mes félicitations, bien sûr, vont au directeur du programme Interreg-Med, cher Curgio Cervelli, qui est intervenu lundi 7 juin, et bien sûr à toute son équipe pour le soutien constant à la coopération transnationale et à la recherche permanente d'initiatives permettant une utilisation optimale des fonds européens. Vous le savez, la région méditerranéenne est un territoire unique et indivisible. Les problématiques sont communes, notamment en termes de climat et de développement durable. Et chaque territoire et l'action dans un territoire a un retentissement dans tous les autres. Nous sommes interdépendants. C'est pour cela qu'au niveau d'Efficient Building, nous avons pris l'initiative de proposer une action pilote qui consiste à créer et développer des binômes de villes nord-sud, 16 villes représentant 11 pays, avec l'objectif d'échanger sur des outils opérationnels d'aide à la décision en matière d'efficacité énergétique des bâtiments publics. Les autorités locales, et tout particulièrement celles qui sont partie prenante dans cette action pilote, ont besoin de tout le soutien des institutions européennes et euro-méditerranéennes pour apprendre et progresser vers l'efficience énergétique et la neutralité carbone. C'est pour cela que nous vous proposons aujourd'hui une table ronde sur cette thématique. En fin de session, il nous a semblé intéressant de mettre en lumière les synergies au niveau local que la communauté Efficient Building propose de développer avec le projet MID-MED, financé par la Commission européenne, suivi également par l'Union pour la Méditerranée, et dont les chefs de file sont l'association Médéner et le Centre régional pour l'énergie renouvelable et l'efficacité énergétique. Je vous remercie de votre écoute, de l'attention que vous portez à notre belle mer Méditerranée, et je vous souhaite à tous une belle journée d'échange. Merci.
Thank you very much, Agnès. So it would have been lovely to have met in Lisbon, nevertheless, thank you. And now it's our pleasure to have our opening speech by Gramenos Mastrogianni, who is an Italian diplomat, professor and writer who focuses on the geostrategic and economic impacts of environmental degradation, as well as environmental protection, human cohesion, peace and security. Gramenos Mastrogianni is the Senior Deputy Secretary General for Energy and Climate Action at the Union for the Mediterranean, and he will be focusing on North-South technology transfer or knowledge sharing. All yours.
Thank you so much, everyone. First, let me check with everyone that the screen is visible.
Yeah, that's
you can
perfect.
see my slides. Fantastic. I will start saying that, unfortunately, I'm not an architect. I'm not even an urban planner. So I'll try to focus on a more general context in which your line of action is absolutely essential. But we have to start from a little bit far away. Efficiency in buildings is considered in two different ways that normally are confused, but they have to be somehow separated. On one hand, it is about efficiency with respect to what buildings are now. On the other hand, it concerns efficiency of the whole infrastructure in facing the inevitable changes that our region is getting into. And it is in this second perspective that I'm going to talk. Assessed also by a recent study sponsored by the UFM, the so-called MEDEC report, we now know that the Mediterranean is in the eye of the cyclone. It is the second fastest warming region in the world, in general terms, and the waters of our sea, the Mediterranean, are the fastest warming at a global level. This comes with a series of projections which are quite disquieting. It would take me 9 hours to describe them all. Let me just quote two. 250 million people in water scarcity within very few years, or a sea level rise projected to be around 1 meter by the end of the century, but just 20 centimeters in a few years. And people might not be scared by 20 centimeters if they consider the dimension of the fragility of coastal cities like the precious Venice in Italy. But 20 centimeters of sea level rise means that salty water enters the coasts and sterilizes them, jeopardizing the agriculture of the Mediterranean. Projected into such a fragile area like the delta of the Nile, it means that the delta of the Nile will be salinized and that the agriculture of the country having around 100 million people will be at stake. Disquieting as they are, it would be a mistake to consider all these impacts as a collection of different problems. What is at stake with the changing climate in the Mediterranean goes much beyond this series of important problems. It's our identity and balance of interests. If you look at this slide, you might realize that there is something unusual about the idea of Europe. If we apply the criteria through which we have singled out other continents, Europe simply should not exist. It is the westernmost tip of Asia. And just as well, the northernmost part of Africa is Africa without being Africa. There is a community there that recognizes itself in the existence of an artificial continent and in a cultural identity which is on its own. And if we ask ourselves what has determined this singularity, well, many reasons, but the subjacent one is climate. Our region is what it is, has its identity, has its sets of interests because of its very special climate. The most important revolution in human history, which is not the Industrial Revolution, it's the Agricultural Revolution, occurred 10,000 years ago with the end of the last ice age, and it started here in the Mediterranean. Not because here we had smarter human beings, but because here the conditions were absolutely favorable. The presence of this stabilizing closed mass of water made climate predictable, and climate is the clockwork of ecosystem services. It is only in a scenario of high predictability that shifting from passive users of the ecosystem to managers of the ecosystem, planners of the ecosystem is possible. If you live in an area in which rainfall is unpredictable, you cannot imagine starting something like agriculture or urban planning. What's happening now is that we are losing this. With the Mediterranean accumulating so much energy, its stabilizing influence is becoming a chaotic influence. So much energy released from the sea to the atmosphere makes climate unpredictable instead of predictable. But there is also another part to this. That is the climate zones are changing. Before, we were united by a single climate that was governed by the Azores anticyclones, and this defined our identities in a certain way. Now our region is recomposed by the fact that instead of the Azores anticyclones, we have the African anticyclones entering in the good season. And it means that some things that united us might split us, and other things that divided us are now uniting us. Let me give you a couple quick examples. The Mediterranean is the second fastest warming area in the world. but the Arctic is warming even faster. It comes with a lot of problems, but also with some advantages. For instance, with the opening of some sea navigation routes, which were mythical, the Northeast Passage and the Northwest Passage. If these routes become viable, we appreciate all the help and advantages that this brings to our friends in the North. But it means that the Suez Canal will lose all its value, that ports around the Mediterranean will lose their strategic role in managing 22% of world merchandise transfer at this time. On the other hand, we have uniting pushes. There is a sector which is hardly considered, which is forestry, that started cooperating spontaneously in the last 10 years without the governments entering into it, and this is forestry. Why is cooperation stepping up in forestry? Because people realize that species practices which are viable, which are vital on the southern shore of the Mediterranean might be the species that will save the agricultures and economy of the North Stream in just a few years. So it is in a context of reshuffling of identities and sets of interests that the whole infrastructure has to be managed to become an instrument of unification instead of an instrument of division. And probably when you consider public building, you might be looking at offices or things like that. I enlarge my, my consideration to things like port, irrigation systems, and things like that. In this context, the situation is quite dangerous because this very rapid reshuffling of identities and interests impacts an area which is characterized and fragilized by a lot of asymmetries that might be described through these figures that concern international exchanges. Of all international exchanges in our region, 90% happens among North Rim states. Only 9% between the North and the South, and only 0.9% between among states of the Southern Shore. It describes a region in which there are communities that might feel that they can face, that they're strong enough to face the incoming changes, and regions that are much more fragile. But this is an illusion, because science tells us that the pace and width of change in front of us is so vast and so quick that nobody on its own has enough resources to cope with them. But science also tells us that together we have the resources. So we have to change paradigm in our social, economic, projectual attitudes and make the Euro-Mediterranean region a region of a cooperative economy. And to finish, I'll give you two small examples. The EU is aiming at carbon neutrality quite quickly, but the EU itself recognizes that this is not possible if we do not put our resources together. Take energy. The highest potential for renewable energy generation is on the South Rim, but the South Rim doesn't have enough market for that. So interconnection is necessary. There, instead of a transfer, we have an exchange. But then let's get to the area which is the object of this webinar, infrastructures. Throughout the climate negotiation, this notion, technology transfer, has been raising and raising, but that might be something wrong to it. So the Union for the Mediterranean, instead of technology transfer, advocates for knowledge sharing. What is a technology? When we say technology, we have in mind computers and rockets, but technology is something different. Let us look at the situation. The southern part of the Mediterranean will soon have a climate which is similar to the climate that regions in the south have experienced during thousands of years. Where is the experience? Where is the knowledge to manage drylands? It's in the south. So what is technology? Technology might be computers, but technology might also be the building that I'm showing you in this photo. It's called Yakchal. If you go along the Silk Road, you find them. It's a cone-shaped building that was used by merchants to deposit their perishable goods. Inside, without the expenditure of a single watt, temperature stays steadily between 0 and -4. The Persians have managed to build gardens in the deserts through a system of irrigation that then was adopted also by the Arab world, called the Qanats. It arrived in southern Italy and southern Spain later on. It captures the moisture in the air and transforms it into subterranean rivers. You have building techniques that in warm countries keep inside temperature absolutely pleasant without the expenditure of a single watt. So in a situation in which we are all facing a shift in interests that might divide us, it is paramount that all sectors, and above all your sectors, start recognizing that the only sensible way out is to acknowledge that we all need each other. If we do that, we do not only cope efficiently with climate change, but we also reestablish parity, dignity, and justice in our social relationship and in our economic relationship. And so we will end up solving, unwillingly maybe, that asymmetry that is a problem for facing climate change, but which has also been the cause of one not so good part of our region. Our region has been the cradle of many civilizations, but it has never completely been a region of peace. And the reasons are before different ideologies, the reason lies in that asymmetry. So if we take this way and the infrastructure sector is called to lead, let us share all we have. Actually, with the intention of coping with climate change, we might be building justice and peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that indeed. I agree. So parity, dignity and justice are essential. And thanks very much for highlighting the size of the challenge, the need for cooperation and challenging our usual assumptions on where expertise or knowledge lies. And I should just say online, Grammamos has an excellent TED talk. And in it, he says, no single action, not even the strongest, can survive only with its own forces. We need each other's resources and knowledge. So thank you very much. And next we have Peter Shilkin, Project Manager, Energy Cities, who has a great deal of experience in energy auditing and certification and expertise in integration of renewable energy in buildings and renewable energies in urban planning. And he's been the executive director of an energy consultancy and a university lecturer. And so Peter, he will speak on efficient buildings community, the North-South City partnerships. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Vicky, and good morning to everybody. So why setting up 6 North-South city partnerships in an Interreg-Med horizontal project on energy efficiency in buildings? What are the ideas behind? What is our motivation and expectations? What is the work program inside this part of the project? That is what I would like to present you within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So we learned already a lot from our previous speaker about the global problems we are facing. And so I would like to point out a few ones we are facing on city level, on local level. So we have extremely on both shores the question of energy poverty. We have high energy consumption, in particular for cooling and for electricity uses. And we have a lack of resources, not only of financial resources, but also of trained staff and craftsmen to do energy efficiency measures and to improve the efficiency of public buildings. So the idea behind this project is that we want to connect municipal players from the north and the south shore of the Mediterranean Sea and see how they approach these challenges, how they tackle We know from a lot of from our neighbor cities, we know what they are doing, but we do not know so much about European experience already, but we know even less how the cities of the other shore of the Mediterranean Sea are tackling these challenges. And I think it's very helpful to learn from each other and to see how the people are facing these challenges. And as also Grammar has been said before, we need each other. So, sorry, I go back to the objectives because this is also very important. But first, maybe our motivation. So from past experience, we learned that the exchange and the learning from peers is extremely inspiring and stimulating. And it's also broadens the personal horizons. And it's also strengthening the probability that actions, that projects will be implemented, because it's not a one-stop opportunity. We meet on a conference and then we leave and maybe we have an idea. This is a process which is accompanied at least over 1 year. And so we have more opportunities to work together, go into more depth with the exchange, and then it's much easier to start projects because there's a accompanying during this size. So we want to share the challenges in the building sector, and we want to find joint solutions. And of course, one of the main objectives is to transpose and replicate the instruments and tools, methodologies, e-learning platforms that have been developed by the 10 modular projects. And another objective is, of course, that we want to set up longer term partnerships. So the idea behind is, and that's what we hope, that these partnerships will last longer than the 1 year of the efficient buildings project, which is still remaining. So let's hope that we can continue with these cities beyond June 2022. And here you can see the partnerships we have been set up. So we have 6 partnerships, as I mentioned already. So Heraklion in Greece is going with Greater Irbid in Jordan. Potenza and a small city beside San Lucido in Italy is working together with Mostaganem, and they have decided to implement the priority approach tools. This is because Potenza has been a partner in the modular project, so they are the city who will transfer their know-how, and this is the same for Heraklion in the first partnership. They have been a partner and an implementing city in the Impulse project. We have another partnership which is working on the Impulse tools. So this is Mostar in Bosnia-Herzegovina with Kaziaziaka in Turkey. And then we have 3 more partnerships, Lule in Portugal going with Agadir. They have not yet decided on which tools they will work together. And we have Montpellier with Tlemcen, Montpellier in France and Tlemcen in Algeria. They are already twin cities, so they have some bases already. And then we have a wider partnership, which is led by the city of Nice. And it's involving more cities from the South Shore. The main partner is Sousse in Tunisia, but there's also Fez in Morocco, a city in Lebanon, and also Sfax, second city from Tunisia. And you see also that all these partnerships are coordinated by one of the efficient buildings project partners. And on the next slide, you can see the geographical spread. So we have same arrows, same colored arrows for the partnerships. So you can see that we really cover the whole Med zone. We have even an Atlantic Ocean partnership. If you see Lule and Agadir, they are both more on the shore of the Atlantic Ocean. But I think that's nice that we can cover such a wide zone. I want also to say a few words about the selection process, because we launched a call in October last year for applications. We have, despite this sanitary crisis context, received 14 applications from each shore, so we were lucky with that. And we had set up an evaluation matrix and scoring. Our aim was to have, if possible, one city per country, but we have introduced also a minimum threshold of score. So yeah, we've seen that more cities than expected were above the threshold. So we introduced the associated partnerships, and that's what I mentioned in the larger one with the city of Nice. Of course, there are some challenges we have faced and we are still facing. So when we were matching the cities, we saw that there are many more cities French-speaking in the South Shore than from the north. And in general, these cities applying from the south were much bigger than the ones from the north. But I think finally we succeeded this matching process, and yeah, we have to organize the cooperation in a very difficult moment, but I'm quite optimistic that we can go forward and that we will reach our aims. The work program consists basically of 4 actions. So we want to stimulate and organize the exchange of experience and challenges in the building sector, energy management, on building refurbishment, which is our focus. Of course, we want to go for financing and renovation solutions, and areas. On-site protection maybe could be part of the refurbishment actions. We want to do know-how transfer in these fields of actions, not only from the North Shore, but also from the South. We learned in the previous speech that there's also a lot to learn from the South. So that's really a vice versa process, not a single way. And we want, of course, transpose the tools which have been developed by the modular projects. This is one of the basic aims. And we want to start the implementation and see how easy it is or how complicated it is to implement some of these tools in the South Shore. And of course, there's room for own ideas from the cities in the partnership. How we organize the Zico operation. So we have signed a memorandum of understanding between the partnership cities, and both cities have appointed coordinators and contact persons, and they will follow up the project during the first year. We will organize regular calls, a minimum every 2 months. We have started with these first calls already. We will also organize thematic calls and for the transposition of the tools. And the main focus will be 2 in-person partnership meetings. I definitely hope that we can organize these two meetings, one in each city, and this will allow us to strengthen the partnership, to favor the personal relations, and to get a stronger political commitment also, which is very important. And as we do organize kind of meeting in these meetings, also some study visits, it allows us to gather stakeholders and to get a stronger involvement of these stakeholders also. So to put the partnership definitely on more shoulders than on the ones of the coordinators. So get political support and support from the stakeholders in this in the cities. And of course, all of them are invited in participating in the events the efficient building community is organizing. So mainly the capacity building workshops and the annual events. And I hope also that the capacity building workshops will help those city partnerships which have not decided yet which tool they want to implement to find the right one for them. So let's keep us fingers crossed that we can organize the work program as we have planned, and I would be delighted if the partnerships can report at our next annual meeting their stories to the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. So yeah, that was a great description of how these things are going to work. So the good news is from the chat, we've had a volunteer from Israel to work with Energy Cities, but we've also had a question, and perhaps you'd like to briefly comment. We'll put it to the round table as well, but perhaps you'd like to just say some words in it. So Hasni Sidaldi, who's president of the National Association of Energy Cities in Algeria, he'd like to know how the transfer and exchanges with the South Shore will happen in concrete ways. So, you know, do you have a concrete example of how, you know, that exchange is happening now?
Yeah, I mean, we have these concrete examples that we are organizing the meetings, so that we really are coming to the cities with delegates from the partner city, that we present in the workshop the tools as we are doing it already in the partnership and the capacity building workshops. So, and then we will organize either through the calls or with support in the calls, but in the meetings, we will check which actions can be implemented in parallel in both cities. So we might check if some technologies could be used, or if some awareness raising actions can happen in parallel in both cities. So that's really a process, so which is going through the calls and the meetings and the ideas which are arising during the meetings. So
yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Peter. Okay, so now we'll move on to our round table on the benefits and challenges of the North-South Shore dialogue, and what kinds of support from the Euro-Mediterranean institutions can cities expect to benefit from. So our panelists, we have 6 panelists, they represent a range of views and experiences, including city representatives, as well as those with expertise in energy and energy efficiency. So if all of our panelists can put their cameras on. So I will introduce you in turn as we go through.
Good morning to all.
Hello. Okay, so I'll ask, by way of introduction, I'll ask each panelist in turn a question. Then we'll move to a more open discussion, and then which will include exploring the expectations of the cities in the partnership. And for the panelists, so when you're answering the questions, if you could keep your answers to each question to a 1 or 2 minutes, simply so that we have time for a wide policy debate, so all 6 of you get to contribute. So I may interrupt you, and that's just to make sure that all 6 of you can share as much as possible. Okay, and for those listening, please continue to put questions in the Q&A box, and either if that's for a specific speaker, if you'd like them to reply to something, or more generally for the entire panel, and we'll see how many questions we can pick up. So to start, we have firstly Alicia Tsitsikalis, who is a socio-economist and policy framework analyst, whose expertise are in governance issues and policy implementation on environmental topics, and she's worked in the field in Mauritania and Cambodia. She now works for the French Agency for Environment and Energy Management, and she is the project manager of MEET-MED2, which is the second phase of mitigating enabling energy transition in the Mediterranean region. So Alicia, your question is, as the Mediterranean Association of National Energy Agencies, how can MEDINA mobilize its national members for the benefit of the South Territories? And how does it promote the involvement of local authorities in the energy transition?
Thank you, Vicky. I think it's a very important question, and very important to have a general overview. I'm very happy to participate to this roundtable and have this opportunity to discuss this topic. Just a few words to introduce my presence. I'm working, as you said, for the French Agency for Ecological Transition, but I'm here in the name of MEDENER. And this MEDENER network is a key actor for the region, composed by 13 agencies and structures working on energy management at the Mediterranean level. I think everybody could be familiar with the agencies in the northern shore, which are partners of the energy efficient building community, but also from the southern shore, from Morocco, from Tunisia, from Algeria, Palestine, Jordan. And this network, in fact, MEDENER illustrates itself the willingness to connect both shores, and because it gathers both shores of the Mediterranean, and it provides expertise. It has it exists since 1997, so there were lots of activities, events, organization, annual conferences, training organized for the national entities. Now, regarding the local level, for sure, the territorial level needs to be in close coordination with the national agency, and they are seen as a key player. So there are various contexts, and every country has its own institutional constraints, and the place of regional and local authorities are different in all the countries. And I can't really summarize the role of local authorities and concrete actions, but their role is recognized widely as key stakeholders in 3 strategic roles, if I can say so. As energy producers, so for sure they are having buildings, they are managing several buildings, and they have equipment and installation, but they are also so as consumers of energy, but also as a facilitator through implementing planning policies, their local incentives, and potentially local taxes and awareness raising. So they have a role of facilitator and also partner, for sure, for implementing sectoral projects, for example, in hospital or several public buildings that are mainly nationally driven, but potentially involving local authorities. So in these 3 strategic roles, for sure, national entities and national structures can help the local authorities in implementing and leading the transition, the energy transition at the local level. So the 4 pillars on which their strategy shall be based on are the supply demand dimension, namely production of energy infrastructure supply, the demand dimension, namely consumers, building, urban setting, the social dimension, sociocultural sensitivity, human, technological, and economic resources, acceptability also of these change, the governance dimension through their local regulatory framework, incentives and subsidies, local taxes, communication. So on these 4 fields, the national entities can provide guidance, tools, and have and help local authorities to play their role at the local level. The tools and the modalities of work could be, for sure, kind of control regulation, set targets according to national objectives and national targets, and their declination at the local level through their urban, the CCAP, the Sustainable Energy Climate Action Plans, or several tools that are provided to set targets and to have a global overview of what could be done in terms of energy transition and for sure, renovation of buildings and building construction for sure also. The second modality is to support financially and support in project design. So the national entities can provide some incentives for the cities to pay. I won't give example, but for sure, I can give details in other parts of the debate. And by providing technical assistance, tools and guidelines for the cities to implement their action plan and their measures, the national entities can play also an important role. So as a regional network of national entities. We are implementing this project, which is the MidMed project, the second phase, and we are convinced that regional cooperation could produce a leverage effect to disseminate best practices and disseminate tools and guidelines. And through these city partnerships that we will encourage and also implement and potentially develop synergies with our program, we think it's a key condition to deploy massively measures that are replicable, coherent, efficient, coherent with the national strategies and coherent with the territories where they are implemented, and potentially to align all stakeholders on the objectives of energy transition and energy efficiency targets.
Great, thank you very much. We'll come back to you, but that's as you say, it's all about making sure it's the right thing for the right place at the right time. Great, thank you. So next we have Semil Tugay, who has two distinct but intertwined careers. So firstly in medicine, but also in public service and politics, and serving on the boards of medical organisations. So he was elected to the City Council Executive Board in 2014, and now he's mayor of Kaysaka. You'll have to say that for me in a moment, which is in the Izmir province of Turkey. So is it you pronounce the name of your town?
Karşıyaka.
Karşıyaka, which is beautiful. Welcome. And as a member of Euromed Cities Network, how is your city involved in addressing energy efficiency in public buildings?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Euromed and Interreg Mediterranean for including our municipality in the Efficient Buildings, Digital Days, and the Twinning program. We may have opportunities to collaborate with municipalities on the south coast and north coast of the Mediterranean through the 6 energy efficiency focused city twinning. The staffs that we have assigned for this twinning program will discuss our common problems in the construction and energy sector and produce solutions under the guidance of your experts. Our staff will improve themselves in energy efficient buildings and related innovative applications, and thus their medical knowledge, their technical knowledge and skills will increase. Transferring this acquired knowledge and skills to the municipality and sharing them with their colleagues will develop our municipality's capacity for energy efficiency. We've been preparing our sustainable energy and climate action plan. We've been calculated the greenhouse gas inventory on an institutional and town basis. The amount due to energy consumption for heating and cooling in residences is 40% of our greenhouse gas inventory. We've been organizing the adaptation and mitigation workshop. It's 2 days activity that started yesterday and final is today. Appropriate actions will be discussed as a result of this workshop. The energy consumption of the units and buildings affiliated with the municipality was reported as a result of corporate greenhouse gas inventory. We've been taking the necessary measures primarily in buildings with high energy consumption. We have 2 solar fields, 1.5 megawatt power. It meets approximately 20% of energy consumption of our municipality here. We aim to increase the renewable energy source with roof, terrace, and building applications to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We also current works related to this goal. I would like to tell about maybe this force. We've been We've been taking actions for water and energy saving in all municipal enterprises and installed motion sensors, armatures, and lights. We researched urban heat islands in our city in collaboration with academics. It's been reduced the negative effects of urban heat islands on the environment and health through afforestation, parks, and green spaces. We also are planning to make some investments about green roof. We have ecological park practices that produce their energy and store their water. We also have implemented this in different parts in the city. We established the Zero Carbon Point Training Center with civil society organizations located in Turkey and Germany. The European Union has funded it. This demonstration center is where you could see the integration of renewable energy resources into living spaces and the efficient use of natural resources. Children and youngsters will be able to benefit from this center as of this month. That's the brief of our opinions.
That's great. Thank you very much. Yes, and I like the way you touched on there about the use of green spaces in addressing the urban heat island effect. That's one of my particular areas of interest. Thank you. We'll come back to you in a moment. So next we have Cyril Deloany, who is Programme Manager for Energy and Climate Change at the European Commission, belonging to a unit dealing with regional programmes for the Southern Neighbourhood. Cyril has a very well-developed international perspective. He's worked on projects for Lebanon, Morocco, and Romania. But today, Cyril, we'd like your European insight. So why are European institutions involved to such a high degree in the energy efficiency of public buildings? Welcome, Cyril.
Thank you, Vicky, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the Efficient Buildings Interreg project for inviting the European Commission, DG NEO in this case, at this important event. Well, it is true that in the past years, energy efficiency in buildings has gained the increasing importance in the partnership that the EU has with its neighbor country. In my case, I would talk mainly about the southern neighbor countries, but it is true with also the eastern neighborhood countries and the Western Balkans as well. You might have seen that in the recent joint EAS Commission communication called Renewed Partnership with the Southern Neighborhood, there is an increased focus on energy transition and energy security. And one of the 4 selected priority objectives is clearly energy efficiency efforts and measures with a focus on building and appliances. We have worked so far quite a lot on energy efficiency in the industrial sector with the different partner countries. Now we want to move on towards the building and appliance sector, which is a very energy consuming sector, as we all know. On another level, in the framework of the Union for the Mediterranean, you are possibly aware that we will sign next week a new declaration on energy. So the 42 ministers of energy of the European countries will meet virtually in Lisbon to sign this new declaration. And this text also puts a very strong focus again on energy efficiency in buildings. So when we consider energy efficiency in buildings, in fact, we build our thinking on the EU Renovation Wave, which was published in October last year, which aims at enhancing the quality of life for people living in buildings and also people using buildings, so that we reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, we foster digitalization, and we try to improve the reuse and recycling of materials. And that's pretty much in link with the Green Deal. If we address energy efficiency in building, it also constitutes a very strong stimulus for the economic recovery through the green investments, and of course, also the enhancement of social cohesions. We also aim at supporting the structuring of new green building value chains that give the opportunity to promote new locally available construction materials, or maybe imported from the EU at best, and also greater resource efficiency, improved building delivery and management processes. A very brief point on digitalization, which we consider as very important to embed in all the different sector policies. In this case, this is important to promote the integration of renewables, a better management of assets and more connected devices at the buildings level, and also a way to better collect and share data. I want also to insist on the equation of energy efficient buildings to foster distributed electricity generation, which we consider as an important pathway to follow, particularly in the southern neighborhood, which is endowed by a lot of natural sun and wind. Of course, it was already mentioned, the focus on energy efficiency in building is a very good occasion to promote local employment, new job creation, thanks to new value chains. And also the necessity to train the local people and the local industrial actors to this new sector of the economy. So I think I will stop here, Vicky, and of course, very ready to answer any question afterwards. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. So next we have another perspective. So like me, from a university. So Yasser Gabor Dessouky is editor-in-chief of the Journal of Renewable Energy and Sustainable Development, as well as a consultant with many industrial companies. He's been the principal investigator on a number of EU-funded projects and has published more than 60 research papers. And Yasser is Professor and Dean of Scientific Research at the Arab Academy for Science, Technology and Maritime Transport in Alexandria. And your question is, how does your university assist Mediterranean territories in improving the energy efficiency of public buildings? Welcome.
Thank you very much. And I'm very pleased to be with you all. Thanks for inviting me. And first of all, I would like to give a brief idea about my institution. It's an institution in Egypt, in Alexandria, the headquarters. We are now working in education, research, consultancy, and training for more than, we are approaching 50 years now. We have many campuses in Egypt. The headquarters is in Alexandria, where I live, and we have campuses in the east, west, and south of Egypt, and 3 campuses in Cairo, which is the capital of Egypt. Actually, as for the energy efficiency in buildings, the Arab Academy for Science and Technology and Maritime Transport, we have established a center for energy and professional training and studies on clean energies in 2012, and since then it's working and helping the society and the university as well for promoting and disseminating the culture of energy efficiency, and especially this includes energy efficiency in buildings, especially. We have as you introduced me, we have many projects funded by the EU and also by regional bodies like in Erasmus Plus, and we have many Tempest projects, and we have Prima projects and ENI projects. All these programs are funded by the EU, and most of them are devoted to energy in general, through which we have cooperation with our neighbors from the south and north and from Europe. And this actually gives us the chance for our young researchers and our students to have mobility between these universities in the south and north, to be exposed to a new culture and new way of thinking. Also, through these projects, we are developing new courses. We are doing some activities which I will highlight now. And also, we are very proud to have cooperation with the main players in Egypt in renewable energies and clean energies and energy efficiencies, such as the NERIA. NERIA is short for New and Renewable Energy Efficiency Authority, if I'm not mistaken, and it's attached actually to the Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy. We have a great cooperation with this authority. Also, we have a great cooperation with the RECRE, which is Regional Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. This is also attached to the Arab League and we have many services and projects and cooperation. As for the activities we are doing towards the renewable energy and energy efficiency, especially in buildings, we are actually, as I said, working in research, training, education, consultation. So all these type of things, we are doing activities like we are converting our campus to a green campus. We started with ourselves. We designed all the new buildings because, as I said, we are now working for 50 years. So you can say the last 10 years, we have like 5 new buildings in my institution in Abu Qir, in Alexandria, and we have many new campuses all over Egypt. We made sure that all these campuses are designed according to the standard of the green campus. Like we have like a BMS, a building management system in each building. We have we are doing like regional or continuous auditing for the energy and our energy consumption. In Abu Qir, we have a small power station for 50 kilowatt PV. We have it on the facade and on the roof of the academy. I hope one day you will be able to visit us, and you're welcome to do that. We are actually involving our students as well in pilot projects, and we are moving and have a good experience, which I will need some other time to explain the details of this. But in brief, we are trying to cope all the 17 SDGs for the United Nations. And as you know, SDG 6 and 7 are related to water and energy. We have a good experience in that, and we're moving to reflect the SDGs on the courses we are teaching, on the research we are doing, on the training we are doing. I will end my talk with a great, good experience which we are doing. It's a project with the EU, with other partners from Greece and Italy, and from the north and from the south. We have Tunisia, Jordan, Lebanese, and of course Egypt. We are doing a A&I project funded by the EU called MedQuad. MedQuad is a short form Mediterranean quadruple helix approach to digitalization. The idea of this project is to transfer the good experience of L'Aquila in Italy. It's I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it in the right way, but it's a famous town in Italy. They were exposed to an earthquake or something like that in 20 years ago, and they managed to renovate the city. And we are actually, especially in heritage and water and energy, and we are transferring this good experience to our nations in the south. And we are integrating the 4 quads, which are academia, society, governmental institutions, and industries. We are putting all these together to serve the community and the society, and we are actually running this project. And I think this is a good example for cooperation between South and North, and especially in renewable energy. Thank you very much, and I'm pleased to be with you. You are muted. You are muted. Excuse me, you are muted.
There we go. Sorry. Yes, sorry. And thank you for sharing your example of being, leading by example on your campus with your energy efficiency measures. So our next panel member is Yanis Anastakis, who is a civil engineer by training and has worked extensively in public service and has been an elected member of the City Council since 2014. Yanis is Vice Mayor of Technical Works, Urban Green Spaces and Daily Affairs for the municipality of Heraklion in Crete, the 4th largest city in Greece. And Yanis is a champion of positive thinking and cooperation. And Yanis, your question is, so what were the motivations for signing up for the City Partnerships pilot action? Good morning.
Good morning to all. I will start by congratulating all of you for this great initiative. I'm a practical person, so I'm very fond of every initiative that leads to practical results towards energy efficiency, environmental protection, and of course, money saving. We are honored to work with Jordan. We have a long-lasting history of harmonious cooperation on various sectors, and our key motivation to participate was to share our experiences. There are times that all the obstacles that come on the way take our strength away, and we need some good partners to sustain each other, to exchange views on overcoming those various obstacles, and we can't make it alone. So the EU give us the key for EU funding, and we have already secured more than 10 million euros after we participated in the MED program Impulse with the Center of the Renewable Energy in Greece. That proves that when you are ready and you have a good plan, money is not an issue. You find easily funds because it's win-win-win for all. So that was our main motivation. We want to share this view, this vision with Jordan and with all of you. And we think that we will gain from our cooperation with you, because there are a lot of things that will be on the way the next 10, 15 years. And we will be happy to be on board.
And just a quick follow-up question to pick up on the question from the chat earlier. So what's the first concrete thing you think you will do to move towards energy efficiency, through this program, through this partnership?
I want to tell you that we started by making a renovation plan for 76 priority public buildings. The horizon was 10 years.
Okay.
The very first moment that we completed and announced that plan, we secured all the EU funding that I told you for other buildings. The main administration building of the municipality and the Olympic Stadium of Heraklion. So that triggered a lot of other plans. We are offering free transportation to the city center with electric buses. That's something that is costs about $1 million per year, but has cleaned the city center and allowed us to make big renovation plans that are on the way already.
That's great.
Pedestrian routes and commercial roads. We have a very large program of renovation of playgrounds and parks. And of course, we try to establish an energy community to set the example for other businesses in Heraklion and other municipalities to start doing innovative things. So a lot of things exploded around the world the moment we announced that ambitious, I would say, renovation plan, retrofitting public buildings.
That's really good to know. Yeah, even though you set your sights high, it still had even more benefits. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, so now from Tunisia, we have Mohamed Iqbal Khaled, who's a trained physician. He became the deputy mayor in 2005, and since 2019, the mayor of Sousse. So that's a city with a population of over 2 270,000 inhabitants and is about 140 kilometers south of Tunis. So, and for Sousse, so what were your motivations for signing up for the City Partnerships Pilot Action? Welcome, Mohamed.
Merci, très heureux d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui pour participer à cette journée. Sousse, c'est une ville de plus que 270 000 habitants. C'est une ville actuellement de 350 000 habitants environ, 1 million d'habitants en été. C'est une ville touristique très sensible au changement climatique. Donc, c'est une ville méditerranéenne qui a des échanges très importants avec nos villes jumelles et amies. On a plusieurs programmes ensemble, des programmes qui touchent l'énergie et l'économie d'énergie et l'énergie renouvelable. La ville de Sousse a toujours opté pour des politiques en faveur de l'environnement et du climat. Elle s'est mobilisée en intégrant le réseau MedCity et a initié ou mis en place plusieurs projets en partenariat avec différentes parties prenantes. Avec la signature de la Convention des maires, la ville de Sousse entend exploiter le dynamisme autour de la problématique énergie-climat et convertir cette volonté en actions concrètes et quantifiables. Ce processus a été couronné par le plan d'action en faveur des énergies renouvelables financé par l'Union européenne, qui est un plan d'action ambitieux avec 35 projets touchant à la fois patrimoine communal dont fait partie les bâtiments ainsi que le territoire. De l'autre côté, la commune finalise actuellement son plan de développement urbain financé par la coopération suisse, le Zico. Ce programme comprend 4 axes, dont un axe important, c'est l'énergie durable, avec une et 2 queens. Commune, et d'autre part, la promotion des ainsi que l'efficacité énergétique sur le territoire. Énergétique au niveau du plan d'aménagement urbain et du plan d'aménagement urbain. Il est important de souligner que la ville a travaillé en faveur des écoquartiers et des bâtiments énergétiquement performants. Toujours concernant les bâtiments, la municipalité de Sousse bénéficie dans le cadre de sa coopération avec la ville de Marseille un soutien pour CCE et agents communaux à la maîtrise de l'énergie dans le lieu de travail. En effet, la ville des associations.
Okay, I think you're a little bit difficult to hear, Mohamed. But thank you for that, and thank you for sharing that you're cooperating with Marseille. That's, yeah, very useful information. So now we've heard from all of our panel members. Perhaps we'll just go back and I'll just have one more question to Cyril. So for the European Union, because this is about, as we've heard from Yanis and others, that this is about, you know, financing things and what can be gained from it. So this is about supporting South-North relationships. So when it comes to services based in Brussels and the EU delegations, what kind of support does the European Commission provide?
Well, this is a very good question. You know that in the past years and for the coming years, the EU is trying to support the partner countries through very strong policy dialogues on numerous sectors, in this case today on energy. And in order to support, let's say, the policy development of the partner countries, we aim at intervening at different levels. So first of all, we try to support the development of legislative framework, institutional framework, technical framework that can, let's say, promote the energy efficiency in buildings, for instance, the energy efficient building codes, deploying minimal energy performance standards for appliances. We also support the need of strengthening the capacities of institutions in charge of developing and adopting and then enforcing these laws. So that's something we do usually through twinning projects or through technical assistance. We also think it's very important to raise the awareness of populations on the challenges and the opportunities related to the energy sector as a whole, and in particular, in our case today, on the need for resource efficiency at the buildings level, at the household level, for the corporates at their, let's say, buildings level. And this is what we do, of course, through the MITMET2 project, brilliantly represented today by Alicia Testikalis. So we have the support here of Medener and Recui, who collaborate together on this very important project, which will last, by the way, 3 years. And he's endowed by a budget of 5 million euros from the Commission. We also provide support to local authorities, as it was already mentioned today. We have been developing for about 10 years the support to municipalities in drafting their CEAP and then their CECAPs. And now we try through the ClimaMed project to also ease the access to finance for these municipalities, knowing that in the southern neighborhood, there is a borrowing constraint for most of the municipalities, but we try to work with the mayors and also at the national level to overcome these bottlenecks. So here I could refer to the CESMED project, the SUDEP project, the ClimaMed project, and we currently are launching, in the process of a new call for proposal called Climate for Cities. Within the ClimaMed project, for instance, we have also contributed to setting up national coordination mechanisms that aim at better, let's say, linking the different ministries within each of the countries in this endeavor. So it's a kind of inter-ministerial coordination approach and a way to better mainstream the climate-related issues in the different sector policies. And the ClimaMed team is also supporting the countries who are willing to set up the CECAP support mechanisms that should hopefully remain in place after the project is ending in order to continue supporting the CECAP drafting and then implementation through financing by the sustainable finance. Now, the second level is indeed the financial level, because it's always quite a lot about money. So we know that within our instrument, we have what we call the blending instrument, where we put some limited amount of grants pooled with concessional loans from international financial institutions. And here I could give the example of the current project managed by Agence Française de Développement in Tunisia, where with our funding, they are currently rehabilitating 2 hospitals. And this is one of the first examples that we would like to continue promoting and scaling up, not only in Tunisia and Morocco, but of course in the other countries who are willing to do so. We here have a very strong policy dialogue with the IFIs, so the financial institution, as well as the partner countries, in order to see to what extent the regulatory framework have to be adapted, to what extent some possible financial mechanism can be set up in a sustainable manner in order to promote replicability. Next to this blending instrument, we also work on the new mechanism based on guarantees. This has been established in 2017 in the new external investment plan by the Juncker president. And here we have financed 2 guarantees that are currently starting to develop in the southern neighborhood. One with the Spanish corporation, which is called RESIDE, so which is supporting the sustainable cities. And we also have a guarantee with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, EBRD, which aims at promoting the energy efficiency in buildings. So you see, we try to address the different, let's say, needs at the different levels. And you might also be aware that we are currently working with our delegations and the partner countries in the definition of the new cooperation program for the coming 7 years. And no doubt that on the energy side, the energy efficiency is the key focus. So here we try to see with the partner countries, with the international financial institutions, to what extent we could start building regional approaches that would in a way replicate what the EU does with its renovation wave in the southern shore of the Mediterranean. So it's under process. Of course, there are a lot of complexities and bottlenecks that we try to address and to circumvent, but we are quite confident that by the end of this year, when we will have to formally propose our programs to our cabinets and to the college, there will be some possible initiatives to strengthen the support to energy efficiency in buildings. The last point I would like to raise, and in fact, it's already referred by a question in the chat, so I'm very happy that it was raised, is the need for well coordinating everything which is already being done at the Mediterranean level, because as we can see today, there are a lot of initiatives ongoing. Our funds remain limited. I mean, the funding through grants is of course limited compared to the huge needs in terms of investments. So I really appreciate the comment that was put in the chat, asking, for instance, in this case, a MITMED2 to well coordinate with some other CBC Med programs on the same topics. And I know that Alicia and her team are already doing so. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So we'll just go back to Mohamed for Tunisia, the mayor of Sousse. And so your thoughts on what Cyril's just said about financing, and what else would you need? So other than what the EU can provide in terms of funds, but what other, as our questions have been, what concrete things would you like to see?
Oui, bon, la ville de Sousse est sur plusieurs projets. C'est des projets qui demandent des financements assez importants. On a une piscine olympique qui est en train d'être construite. Elle sera pratiquement terminée d'ici 2 à 3 mois. C'est une piscine olympique avec c'est une piscine olympique au chauffage et aux installations solaires à 100%. La ville est en train de se doter d'un éclairage intelligent. En partie, la Médina, un projet total pour la Médina, donc l'ancien centre de la ville, mais il nous faut aussi beaucoup de financement pour compléter la totalité des installations d'éclairage public de la ville. Il ne faut pas oublier que la ville est dotée d'environ 30 000 points lumineux qui ont été globalement diagnostiqués en totalité. La ville est sur d'autres projets avec un parc écologique à l'éclairage photovoltaïque financé par nos amis suisses, ainsi que des installations photovoltaïques au niveau de la cité olympique ou du stade olympique. Donc, plusieurs projets sont en cours de finalisation. Certains projets demandent des financements importants. Aussi, une approche participative est en train d'être établie pour engager des discussions et des expériences avec les citoyens. Merci. Merci.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, that's very useful to know. So we'll just I'm going to go to Samuel and ask him a question, but if Alicia, I'm going to get you to respond or your thoughts after Samuel's replied. So within the framework of cooperation projects, what do you consider to be the main needs of cities with regard to energy efficiency in public buildings? And then we'll see if MEET meets those kind of ideas. So Samuel.
For sure, there are many things that were said. I mean, financial issues are quite important for sure, but indeed, tools and guidance and coherence of the tools and with the national level and both regional level, I mean, it's very important, and I really insist on the coordination and a sharing of experience between each city and between cities and their national level, also to expand and potentially deploy several tools that they were experiencing in one city, in another city, in their country, but also in the region, at the regional level, is very important in order to be coherent with the challenges for sure, but also with the ecosystem to build. There is a mechanism of coordination. There are lots of mechanisms of coordination, and this has to be, everybody has to be aligned in the same, there are many experiences, as we have seen also, and everything has to be known, well known, shared, and disseminated further for other cities that are not aware about these tools and this guidance that are needed. So I feel this coordination is quite important, and that's what the regional cooperation can play in terms of coordinating these initiatives, both at local, national level, regional level, because in some of the countries, regional level is quite important also, and we forget sometimes about this level also, which is quite key and crucial for implementing policies.
Great, thank you very much for that. So I'd like to say that Hasni Sadaldi is completely on my wavelength. I'm a training manager, and his comment is that why don't we produce a training plan for energy efficiency between the two shores? So I'm just going to put that to is it Yaba? Yasser. So at your university in Alexandria, what would you think? So obviously you already do these kind of things. How could you assist in rolling out training in energy efficiency for the whole of the Mediterranean basin?
Yes, actually, you are right, and we are moving as universities and also communities towards renewable energies since now we can say 30 years. But I think we're still needing some other efforts from the universities, from the industries as well, from the governmental institutions, to disseminate the benefit of the renewable energy generation and utilization, because some of the challenges, some people, when they hear, for example, they hear that there is a huge project beside their city will be established, they resist this because of some issues, which is not true if they are really knowing the benefit which will affect their life if these similar projects are established in their countries. I think we still need to go towards this. So through, as I said, through training, okay, and we are very pleased that we are doing training with many industrial firms around our institutions for the laborers, for even the engineers to update their knowledge about renewable energies and things like that. And as I said, we are encouraging our students, and we are funding small projects for our students for renewable energies. So yes, we're still needing some other efforts from society, including the investors as well, towards renewable energy.
Great, thank you very much for that. So I'll come back to Yanis. So from the perspective of Greece, in your opinion, what actions could the Euro-Mediterranean institutions, so other than training, because we've just discussed training, what else could the Euro-Mediterranean institutions implement in order to help you achieve your energy efficiency goals? Yanis is gone. Okay, we'll put a question. In that case, I'll go back to Alicia. So we'll just talk about the actual MedMeet project for the moment. So, what's the unique selling points of the Meet Med project? So, what will it do to further promote and strengthen the dialogue between North and South Mediterranean countries?
Yes, shall I present some slides, or is it after that for the signature of the?
Oh, no, that's for the signature. Yeah, no, you're good.
I can present, I mean, for sure, the MeetMed2 project and how it will work with the local authorities and several components that we have in the project.
But maybe just the highlight, the advantages.
Okay,
what's the yeah.
I would say that there's a first component about strategy and policies and mechanisms to governance mechanisms to raise these questions and to share the tools between the countries. So several tools that will be proposed inside the component on promotion itself, the energy efficiency in buildings, that will be piloted by several cities and several territories, will be shared at more global level, broader level than during the task forces. So there are 2-3 components that are mainly concerning the support to these guidances for the cities, but also at the regional level and national level. So there are a few tools, in fact, inspired also by what has been done during the efficient building project. I mean, the idea is to also base and construct and build our action in synergies with what is done with others and by others. And especially in several countries, there are lots of experiences also in supporting community, local authorities. I think about the program ACT in Tunisia, where SUS, I guess, is part of. So there are lots of activities, and the main point is really to share the best experiences, the best practices, and to kind of support the dissemination of those best practices for broader actors and stakeholders.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. And Cyril, just to come back to you, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yes, thank you, Vicky, and thank you, Alicia, indeed, for what you said. I just wanted to add that from the Commission side, the MeetMed2 project is absolutely not a standalone project that we would do for 3 years and then it will stop, it will be over. No, we really put it in the, let's say, in our whole, let's say, cooperation approach as a kind of engine to catalyze and to activate further cooperation approach and also further financing on the energy efficiency in buildings. In fact, a bit like what we've done with the previous SESMED and ClimaMed, so that to show that through some demonstration approaches, through the tools that Alicia was already referring to, we can, let's say, underline and highlight the possibility and the financial and economical sustainability of small and well-framed actions that can be replicated and scaled up by the financial institution at a wider level. So it's really to again be a kind of engine in this huge, let's say, car that we have to make driving this energy efficiency buildings dynamics. And this is why also we need MeetMed2 to collaborate with other projects that have already had experience. And we also will be very careful on the way the MeetMed project will interact with financial institutions that will be at the end the one providing the money for scalability. So we will have the steering committee in a couple of weeks where the project team will explain us how they intend to deploy in the coming 3 weeks this big project. And you can be sure that from the Commission side, we will also promote that very, very strongly at the UFM level, but also wider in order to bring in, to crowd in not only the international financial institutions, but also the private sector itself within the countries in order to really boost this important dynamics.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. And I'll just go back to one of our mayors. So either Semil, Yanis or Mohammed, if anybody would like to comment. So what are your expectations of your partner city in this relationship?
I may reply to this question. As you described in the presentation, we expect the exchange of experience, of action and challenges in the building sector, and find joint solutions, including organization of the energy management, focus points of building refurbishments, financing and renovation and RES solutions, and know-how transfer in these fields of action, transposition of MP efficient building instruments like this.
Great, thank you very much for that. And Yanis, what's your expectation of your partner city?
As I told you before, we invest in partnerships because this is the only way to become better. We love Jordan. We have a good cooperation, being at the crossroads of 3 continents ourselves, Crete and Jordan. And we think that there will be possible opportunities for business ventures also, stemming from this cooperation, and for common strategies in terms of buildings retrofits.
Yeah, okay. And Mohammed, what's your expectations of your partner city? Nope, I think we'll leave that. And so just staying with you, Yanis. So again, what actions could the Euro-Mediterranean institution, so what would you want? So with Cyril here, what would you want, for example, from the European Union or other bodies within the rest of Europe? What do you want from them in order to help make your change?
I think that we need to focus in practical roadmaps. I can tell you that there is no time for theories, and especially for people that are elected. We cannot deal with long-term processes. We need practical roadmaps that will lead to results. It's 2 separate channels. The one with the theory and all the scientific background needs to be ongoing in terms of public services and the people that work within the municipality. But the main decisions, the key decisions about the projects that will be promoted are political, mostly. So the whole procedure needs to be strict and rigid, because everything, we need to explain to the people exactly what's the thought behind every decision.
Yeah.
They need to see the prospect of the investment. If there is too much time consumption in something and the results are very, very long term, there's a matter of credibility. People need to see something practical, even if it's small. It doesn't matter if it's small. But theory needs to be connected with practical results for the quality of life of the people or for the economics of the municipality. I will tell you one practical thing. After the memorandum that Greece signed 10 years ago, you have heard about the Troika and all the very, very tight channels we are going through in terms of economic decisions. Mm-hmm. We have a municipal company that operates the Olympic Stadium in Heraklion. This is exactly like the private sector. If the budget is at a deficit for 2 consecutive years, you need to shut down the company. So we selected a main project to retrofit the Olympic Stadium, and the practical result will be 1,800,000. Let me say it again. We will save 75% of the money that we spent for energy needs in the Olympic Stadium. We will reduce it from 250,000 euros per year to 80,000 per year. This gap, 170,000 euros, is a key for the sustainability of the company itself. Because with the coronavirus and the pandemic, we shut down the activities and we had only the expenses. So we present you a very practical need that we had, and all this strategy led to something that will help us save the company and bring better services to the people.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. It's a great point to make, that from let alone the financial savings directly for that particular project, but your point earlier about making a practical difference so that people can see exactly what's happening and where the money's gone and what it's actually done. That's your measure of success, because that's, you know, politically and the time in which it needs to be done. So not only politically, because it needs to be done in you know, as soon as possible, but also, you know, from the climate point of view, that all these things need to be done as possible. So your measure of success is something visible. So I was just going to ask Alicia briefly, what does success look like for Meet Med, just in one sentence?
I was not prepared in one sentence. In one sentence. The success, I mean, it could mean that, yeah, I mean, in fact, this sentence that was said before, nothing can be made alone. And for me, it's the key sentence, if you want just one sentence. And the success, if I can say so, if at the end of Meet Med, potential inhabitants in one city is able to say that he see results, even if they were behind lots of stakeholders involved to make it happen. I mean, that will be a success, even if it's a long road to go there, but let's say that, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, long road. Yeah, indeed. So we'll come back to you in a moment, Alicia, but I'll just take a pause now to thank all of our panelists, all of our 3 introductory speakers from early this morning. Fantastic contributions, a lot about working together and getting practical things done, and of course, you know, financing to make that happen and being sensitive to how to make that financing happen from the European Union. Thanks very much to our interpreters. So I'm now going to hand over to Bernard Massaro, the Project Director for Euromed Cities Network, and he'll take us through the significant end to this session and the virtual signing of the Meet Med agreement. So Bernard.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vicky. Good morning, everyone. Now we have a session dedicated to this virtual signature with between the Meet Med project and the Efficient Buildings project. In fact, the main 2 objectives which have been already addressed are the following. First, trying to disseminate the results, the good results from both projects as much as possible. And second idea is to try to be coherent as possible, because we all work in a way with public money, and we have to do our best in order to have efficiency in our results. So I will leave the floor to Alicia Tsitsikalis, who will present the memorandum of understanding, and then we will sign this document, and then I will give a few words in conclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Massabo. So yes, we have already said about told about the Meet Med project. So now I will officially inform about this project and what the components and the objectives are. So Meet Med project, you can go on the slide. It's a EU-funded project for 42 months exactly, starting on January 2021, but officially launched in April 2021, this year, for 4 years, sorry, almost. It's implemented by MEDENER, which is the organization, the international network of energy management agencies and structures in the Mediterranean area, and the RECRE, which is working with Alexandria, that you were mentioning behind, but it's an intergovernmental organization aiming to enable and increase the adoption of renewable energy and efficiency in building. I don't really see.
Sorry, I'm just trying to. I just realized, Alicia, that when I put it in the big on the big screen, all those little pictures here on the right side are disappearing. So I will keep it a bit like this for this slide. Okay, don't be surprised.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
So this project aims to contribute to enhancing energy security of beneficiary countries, but with a focus on public building and appliances sector. So there are two specific objectives, which are the massive deployment of renewable energy and energy efficiency measures in buildings and appliances sector, and public awareness on energy measures, stakes and challenges increases, thereby fostering public and private sectors involvement towards more energy efficient buildings and appliances sector. So we are going to work as a catalyzer, as said Cyril de Valen from Commission. We are going to work with our 8 beneficiary countries, which are Algeria, Egypt, Jordan, Libya, Lebanon, Morocco, Palestine, and Tunisia. And within the frame of, with all the affiliated entities member of MEDENER, and you can recognize some logos such as ADEN in Portugal, or ENEA in Italy, that you must know, or ANME in Tunisia, and CRES in Greece. So one of the components of the project is to promote energy efficiency in buildings. So I will focus on the tools that are mainly dedicated for the cities, because the other parts can concern other stakeholders and other targets. But the next slide is to present you the idea of developing tools and guidelines at national level to be piloted, tested at territorial level, to disseminate best practices with several tools and approaches that will be implemented. So one could be said as a better understanding of drivers of energy consumption, and we are going to implement some barometer platforms for building, for example, in 2 countries by ADEN, and or study the potential of energy water nexus in several buildings in several countries. Another tool could be the district cooling potential study that will raise and capitalize on existing experiences, both in the northern shore and southern shore Mediterranean, and that can be after that disseminated. So there are several studies, but I mean, the idea of the study is really to capitalize on existing best practices on these topics. And the second part is to develop itself and to adjust tools. So it's especially what you were doing in the modular project in InterregMed, but indeed here it's to practically adjust some tools and design. For example, energy management in schools, inspiring by some experiences already in Europe. Energy performance contract, for example, or pilot building labeling experienced in Lebanon. So there are several tools that could be dedicated to cities, and these will be designed for sure based on previous experiences and what is experienced by the countries from now. Our inputs are the replicable tools and the processing engaged by the community energy efficiency building, but also several activities that were done during MITMED 1 phase. And I just emphasize on one training package that were developed on sustainable energy design toolkit for public authorities, which is online for sure, and you can find it on our website. And that is showing all the tools that are existing, for example, and encourage also cities to join the Covenant of Mayors, and several activities on energy efficiency in buildings. That's why I'm happy to collaborate more closely with this InterregMed project, and that we will sign this MOU to try to extend our activities. That's it from my side. The objective of this MOU for me is to facilitate the identification of best practices and tools and the relevance of the tools. So the relevance, the coherence with national policies. I mean, there were several criteria that we have to set to adjust the tools and to choose the tools and the synergies that will be created. But I feel that both our projects can work together to facilitate this identification, to continue the transfer of decision-making tools potentially for several cities, to extend the North-South city partnerships to new cities potentially, and to enforce those who are already inside the project, organizing potentially common training and capitalization activities. Thank you. And I'm ready to sign now virtually the MOU.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Perhaps while we are signing the memorandum, and perhaps the memorandum sign will be displayed on the screen, I would like to give just a few words in conclusion regarding the efficient buildings community. In fact, since the beginning of late 2016, we have tried to make sure that the results obtained in terms of energy efficiency in public buildings could have longevity beyond that of the project. For this reason, from the start, we contacted the Union for the Mediterranean, and specifically its renewable energy and energy efficiency platform. And also we exchanged with the European Commission and specifically with the DG NEAR. It's through them that we were introduced to the MIPMED project and realized that synergies, which were explained by Alicia, could be created between the two projects, bearing in mind that efficient buildings focuses specifically on the territorial level for local and regional authorities. This Interreg-Med efficient building project is coordinated, as it was mentioned, by Euromed Cities Network, along with partners of great quality. Some of them were named during this session from the North Shore. Euromed Cities Network has recently been selected by the ENI-CPC Med program, which is European Neighborhood Initiative Cross-Border Cooperation Med, to coordinate another European capitalization project on the same thematic, and with Medener on the advisory board, and some other partners also as associated partners. This new project will be a complementary capitalization project on good practices at the Mediterranean level, and our objective is to enable efficient buildings to benefit from possible opportunities that will arise from it in terms of good practices. So we always are looking for as much coherence as possible. As director of the Efficient Buildings Community of Projects, I would like to thank you, the whole partnership, for their involvement in the preparation of the policy sessions and the capacity building workshops. Thank you also to all the participants for following us. Thank you also to the relevant interventions from the partners, from the panelists. Thank you to the skilled moderator we had for these three policy stations, and also thank you for the great work from the interpreters. We hope that the sessions in the last few days and the sessions planned next week will provide you with valuable takeaways. And as it was mentioned by Peter Schicker this morning, we will see you in June 2022 for the Efficient Buildings Closing event, where I hope we will be able to assess the project's results in terms of transfer and capitalization, as well as the results and impacts of the city partnership. So thank you very much again, and enjoy the next sessions.
Thank you, Bernard. Just one thing before you leave us. I have posted in the chat a link to a survey. We would appreciate if you could take just 2 minutes to fill it in, because it will help us kind of evaluate this event and see what we can improve next time, and what your feedback and takeaway is from this event. So if you can just click on the link that I have just posted in the chat, that would be great. It only takes a couple of minutes, and it would really help us. So thank you for that, and thank you for your presence today.
Thank you, Alison. So bye-bye.
Thanks to all. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
And thanks, Vicky, for your great work.
No problem. Thanks to the interpreters as well. Fantastic.